especially good one. I'm going to start promoting my panelists here. Got Smitty's on, always makes me very excited. Now, so we got Lawrence on, so I'll promote him. Michael Freeman's on. He's really excited to have him on. He just won an RCQ, so it'll be great to have him on. Theory's on. Peter, I know you're on. I don't know if you want to be a spoken part of things, or I see we have Tremaine as well, so that's cool. All right, this is going to be a great Magic Secrets. I'm going to start with the Lord's Prayer. We'll go from there. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Speaking of the glory, the power and the glory. So this is David Mills' most recent video drop. It's just a few days ago. I was re-listening to it, going through it for the third time yesterday, and I was pretty moved just by the opening of it. And you know, it's really clear when you listen to his vision of this. This is where all of this strategy that we have, it all sprouts from this same place. Like it's all like rooted in the same thing, the same strategy and the same way of going at things. But anyways, David really presents a vision, like I talk about with a city on a hill, where like a place where people could really just see each other just entirely differently in the entire world if they just had like kind of a philosophical shift that's takes some focus, just like learning a magic deck or something like that, right? That takes some amount of focus. Like you just have to read some cards. Somebody played a card against me the other day, and I was really tight on time anyways. And there was all these words. I was like, I'm not reading this. I just conceded. Like there was just no way. I just wasn't just gonna sit there playing against this nebulous card like while it mysteriously beat me, and I had no idea why. And I was already kind of on the cusp anyways. But yeah, like as we delve into it, I got some of my multiversal passages. I think this is gonna be a hot ticket card. So we'll continue to investigate magic and how how the new Spider-Man set affects it, how multiversal passage has this very, very important effect on the game. You're seeing it all over gameplay in Mythic before the switch over, and now in Platinum, which is kind of the new Mythic until people are in Diamond, halfway there. So we'll get into that. But David's video that he put out last week, I think it's really important, and it's so important that I immediately realized that we'll just entirely reorganize the Magic Secrets product here, our podcast, our show here, around this idea to really get it right. Because when I first saw David's kind of top secret deck called the Keeper, I'll get deeper into the story another time. But when I first saw it, that's when I knew David was better than me and better than anybody else in Magic, and better in a way that was so plainly obvious. It wasn't like he was running the mile 1 second faster or 5 seconds faster than somebody else. He was running it a whole minute faster or 2 minutes faster. They're like just some leap over everybody else. And it was clear to me that he had a much more mature approach to the game than everybody else had, even though I knew he was around my age. And it was very shocking to me. It was actually a strong blow to my ego at the time, believe it or not. It was probably the biggest crisis I ever faced in my life up to that point, and somebody had pulled a gun on me when I was younger than that. But anyways, so David, David presented this idea of honing in on what he calls substitution, and kind of everybody who studies science or mental science or even the physical sciences we have some idea that these substitutions are going on. It's in science here and there. You see it talked about in some ways, but it doesn't really get universally applied. And even I was reflecting today on how David, and of course, if you haven't seen this yet, I'll link to it in the video. The replays of this are at youtube.com/ video music showcase, I think is where they're at right now. I can double check that, and I'll make a stronger plan to have everything be kind of connected and wired and clear, how it all works. But for now, we have what we really need, which is we have a real, for those of you that are watching this, and we have quite a few people watching it more and more, but what fuels the show is the WhatsApp chat that's behind it, that's always going. Lawrence hitting Mythic, Theory hitting the top 200 last week. Now it's like, oh, now we're switching over and we're jumping into this. Michael Freeman's on. Michael just won a regional qualifier with the deck that he's been very transparent. We've had him on a number of times, both himself personally, and then also with Gary reporting back on what he's been doing. So that's been great. Now Michael's been added to the group. So we have this terrific group that is brimming with the science that we then present on the show here. So when I come on the show, we're here to more talk about the science that's already happened, things that have already been developed. I very typically will report the decks that I'm going to talk about myself, because they're typically at least tested enough that I have some idea that I'm not just coming out and just spouting off nonsense. So anyways, this concept that David put out on this video recently, and it's so important, and we'll continue to organize around this and grow. We have such amazing things happening behind the scenes, that I could kind of almost bog things down by talking to them or preluding them, but they're there, and we're seeing that sprout out more and more. And so when David's talking about knowing and substituting, so substituting, first of all, so we understand, like, on a very basic level, that like a computer is not like a physical object. Like, I'm looking at a computer, and we know just from whatever physics that they had available to them in the 1950s, I'm sure, microscopes that could just see down, and you could just see that solids, what we think of as solid objects, are not actually solid objects. They're contain particles, and that's not at all in any way controversial. Nobody outside of maybe some, maybe there's some wild zealots out in some uncharted territory that don't believe that there's particles, but everybody else believes that there's particles that kind of compose things, and we act as if that's true. That's what, when we take an Advil or something like that, we're acting as if it's true that there's something in, like, otherwise it would just be nonsense to pick up a little pill and take it and think it was going to do something more than anything, or even food or anything. Like, what would we do? We just think that, oh, it's all nonsense, right? So anyways, we have this idea that there are representations, right? There's differences between kind of what's going on out there and what we're seeing. And even colors aren't like immutably colored. Like, something is not blue in a certain way. I mean, we perceive it as blue, and that's very real. And we can predictably make something perceptible as blue, like an artist can predictably make a painting that has blue in it, or a shade of blue in it, or various shades of blue. And that's predictable. Like, there's a predictable artistry and science behind that makes that all possible. But we understand just through a little bit of deeper science that there's these wavelengths, and they're bouncing around, and that's kind of more about what's going on under, behind the scenes, but it's creating that effect, right? And when we're watching a movie and we see an explosion, there's not a mini explosion somewhere, like on that film is just film. There's no more explosions. Maybe there was an explosion, or maybe there was an AI explosion that got rendered and recorded. But once it's rendered and recorded, it's just, the thing. It's just the experience of the thing. There's no more explosion anymore. And so we know that that's kind of going on. But what David's honing in on is the substitution. That's why he calls it substitution, substituting. And this is this happens in magic incredibly all the time. And before David, it was overwhelming. Like, there was no gaps before David. It was entirely what I think of as superstition. Very, very much like, well, actually, that was where I had an advantage. I studied anthropology and I studied history, and especially people that had, like, I studied a lot of people just from various cultures. I studied a lot with Native America, and there was a lot of beautiful and nifty things that they thought of and found and discovered, but there was also just terrible, horrible ideas. They were just absolutely beyond the pale, like of just terrible ideas, just absolutely terrible, unsustainable, horrible ideas, mass human sacrifice, just crazy, crazy stuff. That's it's just absolutely senseless and completely provably wrong. So people would have these superstitions, and again, some useful, some mildly useful, whatever. Magic, pro magic, was very much superstition based, and so was the internet marketing world. It was basically superstition with the tiniest hint of science. There was some science. I'm not saying there was no science, but not David's type. And this knowing and substitution really boils that down. Now, I'm not going to entirely dominate today's show with this, but it's going to become very much one of the organizing or the organizing principle behind this podcast going well and being helpful to everybody. It's not some sort of thing I'm trying to impose upon it because I want to make things worse. If I could give you glasses, if we went to a world, this is something that David said to me a long time ago, but it's proven to be very true. If we went to a world where nobody could see, everyone had whatever terrible vision is, 2200 vision, whatever is that, I guess 2020 is good, so 2200 must be terrible. Let's say that that's terrible. So you went to a planet where everyone had 2200 vision. If I could give you all glasses, you put them on, and all of a sudden you're seeing 2020, then if you went and played basketball or baseball or football or whatever, then in a certain way, you could break all the records, at least the things that have to do with, I don't know, catching the ball or hitting the ball or whatever, ball placement or finding things quickly, where other people were struggling to find it. And so in the same way, if I can help you see these, and that's what I want you to do is, so the simple idea behind this is that our mind, what it does is processes whatever's going on and offers us up these substitutions, and these substitutions appear as reality, and our mind utterly keeps us, and our mind doesn't really distinguish. It's not trying to do something. It's not like it doesn't have personal takes on things. It has default settings, and it has ways that you can tune those settings, and that you participate, you yourself as a person participate and can tune those settings. But it's not trying to play you. It's not assistant. It can act as an assistant, right? Like you call an assistant, think of it as an assistant in some ways, and that can be very beneficial, so long as you kind of create boundaries, you don't like overly anthropomorphize it, right? So what we're doing instead is we want to know, and here's the distinction here. The big distinction is that people don't predictably and consistently spot these substitutions, and they get blindsided by them, is what I'm saying. And they get blindsided by them, and all kinds of negative ripples come from this, including there are ways that it spirals, right? All kinds of ways you can see in the clash between the Irish Republican Army and the UK government, right? Just was obviously a tragic spiraling, that something that went wrong. And I guess it's supposedly, I presume it's better now. I don't hear about, pipe bombs going off all the time like you used to, but you used to hear about these horrific things, and it was just bad on both sides and just bad. And so these things can spiral. I'm just pointing to something. I don't have any great knowledge about this. I don't take a particular side. I don't really know all that much about it, so that's why I picked it. It's just something that it's sort of a mild historical thing that went on, but you see things that just kind of go awry, and you have one group of people that think that something they're going to do is going to cause some other people to do it, and it doesn't work out that way, and it gets out of hand. So this happens very much in magic, and time gets wasted like crazy, and people don't do a good job, and they don't have a very good experience. They don't win a lot of games. They don't know why they're out of control. And a lot of this happens because of not treating substitution properly. And here's the thing is, you're not here to judge substituting, because it's there whether you like it or not. It's there. It is the mode that we converse with ourselves. It's how it happens. Like it's with our minds. When I said ourselves, our mind is not ourself in the same way. But we have kind of like a being that we are, and we're then communicating. We're getting feedback. We're in a feedback loop with our mind for sure, and other people that are around us. And so what happens is these substitutions are how we experience things. So when new cards come out, right? Why am I able to spot cards that are going to make a really big difference in the metagame? I was jumping up and down about starting town, and I bought up a bunch of them when they were a couple. I mean, I bought dozens and dozens and dozens of them when they're super cheap, and now they're all over the metagame. And that's because I knew how to accurately represent them, right? So David, in Magic Secrets, we talk about accurate representation, but that we're going a layer deeper than that with this in order for us to do a good job of accurate representation. And this will very much come through in business too. Like, folks, this is such a bonanza for you. Studying the video that David's got for you here, seeing Magic through the lens of it. I've got brand new decks. I'm going to pull up some brand new decks. We're actually going to dig in with Michael here in just a second, but I will give you a sneak peek at I'm currently calling it Miley X Lily, which is sort of a seeming nonsense. It's sort of a nonsense name based on two of Smitty's code names, but I'll report on this deck, and this is a new deck that I came up with. I think it's got a lot of cards that you'll say, oh, I've seen that, but I think it's put together in a way that's pretty clever and that you'll like, and the lands are pretty clever, and I've been winning with it a lot. So I'll be excited to explain that to you, but more through the lens of understanding these substitutions and how they screw us up, and help you understand some systems that I'm using, to help you kind of, I want you to think of them like waves, like ocean waves in a certain way, and you can and must learn to surf them and surf them well, or like the worms in Dune, if you're a big sci-fi fan, right? You can have those worms, and hey, if you're the Paul Atreides and his people, the whatever, Stilgar and all the sand people and all that, then you want to the frame, right? Then you want to ride the worms because they're great, and you don't want to be eaten by the worms. You want to ride the worms, right? So with that, and again, I don't think that I came in and particularly, nor did I plan to, nor was it. In a sense, this webinar is meant to be used as a companion with this training that David has. It strengthens it so much more. That doesn't take away any of the science, doesn't change any of the cards that I'm playing. In fact, it defines it. One of the things I've noticed recently is that if you take a yard and you put a fence around the perimeter of the yard, it expands the yard. Like there's a way where it sort of predictably will always make the yard seem much bigger to you, and you'll always think that it makes the yard smaller. Like it'll always seem like boxing it, like, oh well, maybe if I don't see how small it is, I'll think bigger or something like that. But it's actually in practice. Working on a renovation the other day in a bathroom, and you add the vanity in, and the vanity wasn't there before. You could just see the shower. You'd think that the room would look bigger without a big vanity in it. That a big double sink vanity or whatever. Then you put that vanity in, and the bathroom in practice looks much bigger to me. Adding boundaries makes things robust. Like, I'm excited to share this deck with you. This is two decks together that were both really powerful, and that both took our guys, high into Mythic. Bryn got into the top hundreds or so with Lily, the Ivy deck, and so we'll discuss that, and that'll be fun. But that's a good way to start things off. We have also a bunch of people on that are big fans of David Mills. Smitty, of course, was the OG, one of the OGs with that, but we have a lot of people that have come along and that really appreciate him, and some people that are new to David don't even know, maybe they know that he was the #1 Magic player in the world at one point by pro points, and some things about him, some of the decks he invented, like the Keeper, that still to this day sort of define Commander and Type 1. But anyways, for some people that you don't know David as well yet. we will change that. We'll make that much better. Okay, so that was sort of the awesome awesome preamble for today. Lawrence, did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, real quick before we move on. How are accurate representations not exactly the same as substitutions? What's the distinction?
Substitutions just are, you're not going to get to accurate representations without getting substitutions right.
Okay.
Like think of in this way, just in a limited way, in a limited parallel. Think of in that way the accurate representations being like the wheels of your car, and the substitutions and understanding substitutions and just that they're happening as being the steering wheel, right?
Okay.
Like you want, like obviously for the car to go where you need it to go, the wheels have to be turned the right way. They just have to. But there's a mechanism for doing that. Okay. So without getting these substitutions right, you're just helpless. Like you have no, like even me, like everything we're experiencing is a substitution. Like the reason he calls it a substitution is he's accentuating the action of our brain inserting this experience block in front of us that we perceive in a certain way, and that's so hypnotic, right? And it's totally effective for default survival on the planet Earth. It's what it's for. Like for default survival, it's just massively effective. It's how we get to kind of that plus, you know, basically the New Testament is how you get to this. Anyways, but we can do so much better is our point. Like our point is, given what's possible, given that what you can figure out from going specifically through, and I don't even mean, I should not say the New Testament, I just mean the four Gospels. I like, if I've ever said anything about the New Testament, I really take it back. I only mean the four Gospels. Anyways, so I'm not going to get overly bogged down in that. Let's get over to Michael. First of all, Michael, great job, man. Great job. You took it down. Michael's doing something right now that we like to represent as ultimate decking, and it's one of the most effective and enjoyable ways to enjoy Magic, both limited and both draft limited. You don't have as much control over it, but draft and constructed, where you do have control, it is the most effective. It is the most enjoyable way. You don't see me doing it because I know I'm speaking to a lot of people. I am capable. I'm hyper freakishly capable, especially with Smitty's help, of creating, and Dan is insanely helpful, of course, of generating like lots and lots of decks for you guys, especially with your help, right? I can spin off new decks and spot things and so forth, and I like to. That's great. So don't model that with me. Particularly, you might become a master decksmith. You might want to. If you want to, cool, great, that's great. But for the typical casual enjoyment of game and crushing of tournaments, what Michael Freeman's doing right now is what you should do. It's the way you should pursue it as a pro, if you can, where you can. And we call it ultimate decking, where you're going to really try to stay within a framework of a deck if you can. You may not be able to, right? Card shift. Sometimes the metagame just murders you. Don't do it. Don't walk into a massacre. I did that at Worlds one year with Bloom Drain, with Prosperous Bloom, or whatever they like to call it, Squandered Drain, and I won one match out of 7. I tied 3 of them, but still, it was just an absolute massacre because everyone was ready for me. They had all watched ESPN and were just ready to massacre me. So don't do that. But outside of that, Michael, I know that deck's performing great for you. Let's start with, what is your current build? Do you have any? And there's no wrong answer with this. Do you have any multiversal passages? What are the updates to the main deck and sideboard?
Yeah, so pretty much I dropped down 1 Bolt Wave, okay. And I played 1 Shelter main board.
Yeah. You had a Sheltered in an original version that we had. And I always like that. It's also, it'll just kind of scare people, you know, like, oh man.
Well, yeah, I was expecting a lot of mono red. You know, a new set comes out, you're always expecting a lot of mono red. It's just like,
and was that in practice true?
Yeah, absolutely. I played it round 1. And then I played it in top 4 as well to get to the finals.
Do you want to walk through the rounds? I think that could be.
Yep, absolutely. So round 1, I played mono red. Yep,
Okay.
round 1 played mono red.
And what's your remembrance? How did those games go?
It was pretty big favor for me. I drew lightning helixes, and when you draw the lightning helix in that matchup, the swing in that 3 points of damage is a 6-point swing. You know,
Right.
with mono red,
and it's kind of there's some sort of unspoken threshold. You don't exactly know what it is, but there's somewhere with life where they just can't quite get back at you. Outside of like a slick shot with some sort of a boost thing, right?
Yeah. And I have that, and they don't. You know what I mean? So it's
like a lot of people are not taking advantage of slick shot with some boosts where we can really take them out pretty fast. If you do like slick shot double bolt wave, for example, then your opponent almost can't possibly survive.
Exactly. Yeah, I 2-0'd both times. I mean, it was pretty easy.
Okay, so both first round and in the top 4. Okay, great. So basically, what you established some creatures, got them down, maybe a claw. Have you?
I think.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna tell you. In the semifinals, my last hand was Hired Claw, double Lightning Helix, a Screaming Nemesis, and 3 lands. And like, you're just never gonna lose to mono red with a hand like that.
Right, that was in the top 4. Yeah, that's perfect. That's great. And again, mono red just doesn't have that helix. That's going to let you turn the corner. It's going to let you, just create this because they're these swings, but you like through science, through enough testing, we have a sense of how big those swings are, how much that, and I feel it myself when you're talking. Like, I've played enough with your deck, and I played enough with it against mono red, and I played against it with mono red, where you feel like that point where you just can't get over the edge. They're just going to die 5 points short of killing you or something.
Exactly. Yep. And then I sideboard in the Authority of Councils, another Sheltered, and it's like it swings that matchup so bad. Like any kind of life gaining, all their Nova Hellkites, all their Screaming Nemesis come and play tapped, and it slows them down so much to the point they just can't come back.
Yeah, it's a devastator. Authority is a devastator of a card. What are you taking out against red currently?
3 Bolt Waves. And I think that's it. 2 authorities in, 1 sheltered.
Right.
And that was all it was.
Before. You'll notice that Bolt Wave is a type of card where it'll often come out after sideboarding. A lot of people will think that means it doesn't belong in the main deck and even act upon it. That's a substitution that you want to avoid. It's an incorrect assumption. In this case, it is true that Bolt Wave is not as efficient as any given card against any given deck, mostly, okay? But you're playing against a bunch of different decks.
Exactly.
And across a bunch of different decks, the reality is that Bolt Wave is a great first game choice.
Exactly.
Michael, can you comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So like the slick shot, when you plot a slick shot and your opponent taps out, and you can go Bolt Wave, like play the slick shot, Bolt Wave, and then give your guy double strike, it's a 13-point shot. It's 13 damage.
Charm at that point, right?
Yes, exactly. So, 13 points in one shot, you usually get your opponent to about 2 life, maybe 4 life sometimes. And it's like from there, you're going to top deck something.
Where they're not going to make it out of that. They're not typically like outside of you drawing like 5 lands in a row, or mostly because most of your creatures are an immediate threat, or you have damage that just can immediately go straight to them. It doesn't have to burn a creature. It's not like an abrade. Abrade's a great card, but you can't burn somebody with it.
Yeah, exactly. And with the meta, it's like, you got to get a lifelink guy on board, before you can start swinging. And it's like, we can play that slick shot on turn 3. You plot it on turn 2, and turn 3, I can hit you for 13.
Right.
So it's like, it's really, really hard to come back from that.
Right. And then obviously once, like, Screaming Nemesis is just this sort of difference maker type card.
MVP,
it is probably the card that Wizards would need to ban to like kind of tear the throat out of red, I would say. Like, I think it's the most important card overall in red. I'm not saying I'm right, but between red and red white, it's a little hard for me to imagine both of them making as big of a splash as they are right now. Of course, the Needlehead's super, but
Yeah,
he's a
he's
little bit
insane.
metagame dependent. And the Nemesis has just been so strong for so long.
Well, the Needlehead is a must because, like,
Of course.
with the control decks, the blue-black mid-range deck, and then obviously Vivi, like, those decks are so dependent on drawing cards. And when you play that and they don't get it off the board, it's just like every point of extra damage that you need is going to come from that.
Absolutely beautiful. All right, let's continue to go through with this tournament report. What did you play the second round? Do you remember?
Yeah, blue-black mid-range, and that was a game where
So that'd be like a ninjutsu deck, with the
exactly.
They'll have the Flash Curiosity cat that costs 4, and then what they're trying to do is get a siren down. They've got the 2/3 legend guy is really chunky. He only costs 1 black with Death Touch, so he's a pain in the butt. He can turn into.
You got to kill that guy right away. You got to kill that guy right away.
Because
right
again,
away.
Now that again, what we're doing is we're helping you identify substitutions like that guy's going to hit play, and the typical substitution your brain's going to get you is like, maybe there's a way I can kind of weasel around for a while here, right? Is what you're going to think. Let him drop his life a little while I drop my life a little, and it won't work out the way you think. Either he'll sit back and block, and you're like, oh, now I can't attack, right?
Yep.
Or they do start hitting you and you're going down, but then all of a sudden you're going down way faster than you thought, and now he's a 4/4 and you can't deal with him.
Yeah.
And
you just lose if he flips. Yeah. If he flips, you just
lose if he flips. Exactly. So. Just lose if he flips. So we're showing you, like, now what Michael's doing for us is Michael has gone out there because he's been doing this ultimate decking that David so loves, right? It's one of our heuristics. It's one of our go-to, like David and I would literally talking in terms of heuristics, all the way back in 1996. And it would be like, what are our heuristics? What do we do when this, when that, right? And one of the things you want to do is you want to ultimate deck, or at least have somebody ultimate decking. We always had Kyle Rose ultimate decking on some sort of red aggressive deck. And so we would always be getting the freshest, best science results. So we would know, do you let that creature survive? How do you handle it? How do you sideboard it? We understood that stuff. And it's just, you can't get it out of a Magic article. You can't get it out of reading a tournament report. There's no other way to get it. So right now, that's a substitution that your mind's going to normally make is this. Let me pull up the 2/3 guy I'm talking about. This guy. Okay. You're like, Michael, is it true that at some point you thought you could weasel around this guy?
Yeah, a lot.
Stop doing that.
You just can't. Most of your damage is going to come from, most of our damage comes from creatures that are on the ground. I only have 2 creatures that fly, and they're going to kill that slick shot every time. They have tons of removal. It's black. So your best bet is to just.
But you did that. Your brain told you, it's fine. It's fine, Michael. We got
let him hurt himself. Let him keep hanging himself.
You lost that game, and then you lost the next game that it told you that, and it told you no, that was. It told you the next time. No, it's fine.
Yeah.
And you finally, at some point, were like, brain, stop.
Kill it. Turn 2 every time. It's got to die.
Kill it. It's not a tempo break. Okay, so this is the critical core. Like, and just this is not a time you're not to go off on your brain. This is not like, I don't know why my brain. No, your brain is giving you representations that are reasonable, right? And then you pick through them and help define your strategy, especially when you have me and David here helping you understand this and help you understand like what's going on and so forth and how things go. Because what I'm doing by meticulous going through this tournament report, I think of this as an annihilation report. By meticulously going through this annihilation report with Michael, I'm showing you all these substitutions that he's picking through. And when he's calling them out and I'm grabbing, I'm like, wait, That was beautiful, Michael. Let's zoom in on that, right?
Yeah.
I just talked about a common card that's going to come up in that matchup, and you're like, no, that thing's got to die. And that's something that you have marked because you know that your brain is going to tell you, this time we got it, Michael.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Save the helix for something else. And you're like, no, no, no. Burn it, get rid of it, dust it with the twin maw, get it off the board. Okay, great. So that was a great teachable moment. So you beat blue black. Any note about how you ran him over particularly?
So that's not the best matchup for me. I drew good.
I think it's scary.
Turn 1 play, turn 2 play, turn 3 nemesis. Both we did best out of 3. He ended up taking me game 1. I took him game 2 and game 3. But I drew good, drew get lost. I played 2 get lost, and 2 voice of victory in that
deck. To help you with the ninjas?
Yeah, the get lost was to kill any of his bigger guys. They run that 4/4 lifelink guy. They run the.
This guy. I liked him a lot. I identified him early.
Yeah, and then voice of victory is a must because they run the merfolk that will tap your guys down during your turn, and when they're blanking your turns, they're gonna win those games.
Yeah. Yeah, voice of victory. Yeah,
Yep,
we saw
very
voice of
good
victory be really strong. Really
took
nice.
out 3 bolt waves, and I ended up taking the sheltered out because I felt like
sheltered out against black.
Yeah,
I always take sheltered out against black.
I feel like if they kill your guy and they get their guy back, it's huge
another one of
swing.
these substitution things. And folks, the worst thing that can happen with a substitution gone awry, the worst thing that can happen is you get lucky with it the first time.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking, no, this is the way it is. Like you lock it in, like, no, don't take out your shot. And then you have no idea why you're losing game after game to the same thing.
Yeah.
So you've got to you've really got to let science talk to you. Like when a deck keeps running into a wall, don't be like, well, it's gonna be different when I'm playing the tournament. Like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's bad science too. Okay, round 3.
Round 3, I played the 4-color control deck. I lost game 1 because of a misplay.
What was the misplay?
He played the counter spell, counter unless you pay 3. I forget what it's called.
No more lies.
No more lies, right? And I tried to cast another spell instead of paying the 3. I had the 3 open. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna cast another spell because he can't have 2, right? But he had 2, and he countered both of my spells, and then I couldn't come back after it, and I was just like, okay. So he won game 1.
Now
game
wait,
2,
no, that's not true though, because if you tap the mana, he could have just normalized the same spell.
Yeah, exactly. But he lies 2 spells instead of just 1. So I should have just tapped the mana.
Oh, I see. The mistake was rather than making him burn. Okay, great. So I made a mistake there. So Michael had the 3 mana to pay for the no more lies. Rather than force the guy to use the second no more lies on the original spell, he let the no more lies resolve. And then played another spell, and that one got countered. Great.
Yep. And then he hit 2 spells.
And again, folks, this is a substitution that he ran into. And if he had seen it properly before, he wouldn't have done it. And now that he's seen it properly, he's shown it to us for himself to see, right? And Lawrence, now does this give you more of a glimpse as what I mean by accurate representation versus like how you steer into accurate representation using your understanding of these substitutions?
Yeah, a little bit. I guess like the heart of the question was like I kind of saw accurate representations as like the bottom, the core of like all the mental illusions, but your substitution seems to be like a layer beneath that.
Well, it is because, like I said, the accurate representation is more like the destination.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, yes, you want to arrive at an accurate representation.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't realize that what your whole life is one substitution after the next, you can't deal with life in any sensible way.
Yeah.
And once you can, like, you're so free, so much freer than you were before. And like, this is why I wanted to teach you guys with magic, not just with business. It's terrific to teach you this with business, folks. If I had theory, your partner John, right? If we had John on here, I could have John pointing to any number of substitutions that he's memorized, where his mind previously was telling him, do this when it comes to this conversion, to this funnel, right, to this sale that he's making. And now he's learned and he doesn't do that thing. He does the right thing now. Is that the case? Has he reflected that to you? Theory, I know he has.
Absolutely. All the time.
Can you remember any of it? Conversion's often one of the easiest things to look at. We could talk about SEO. I could ask Theory about one time when he didn't realize something in SEO and then he realized it, but it's almost better to look at conversion because everyone knows a little bit about it.
I can just say something real quick. At one point, we both kind of realized that pacing and leading in conversion.
Oh, nice.
Was
nice.
Not optional. Like we realized you have to do it. It's not optional. That's sorry, go ahead. I missed what you said there.
So what happens? So I'll explain to people more about pacing and leading, but let me listen from you first. What mistake were you making before, or what are some of the mistakes that you were making before you realized about the importance of pacing and leading?
Well, it was just more confusing because we didn't realize that pacing and leading wasn't optional. In my opinion, like I'm a little bit worried on that still, but I'm pretty sure you have to do it every time, like in the conversion process. So just not realizing that, we were more confused, like about what the steps we should even be doing, basically to lead somebody where you want them. Go a little bit like this, as part of a conversion, I suppose.
Oh, right. So for example, sometimes you might wind up timid when you should be leading.
Sure.
You know, like sitting back and kind of listening to somebody, and that person's probably in their head thinking, why the hell is this guy not saying something?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
or
there's
other times when you're leading, when you should be listening, right?
Yeah, totally. And more than that, like it's an entire thing. Almost everything's stacked on that. Like you might realize maybe somebody like I try to express that. I might not be successful too much, but you know, sometimes you're like, why didn't I make that sale there? Like for example, right? Well, maybe because there were steps missing, like you weren't wanting to pace and lead as much. You were trying to jump too fast ahead, and then you
exactly.
Like, well, hold on, like
jump ahead, right? And okay, so for everyone with conversion, the kind of known scientific formula from the NLP experts like Bandler, and you can read about this in Frogs to Princes, and I don't know if he specifically talks about it, but it's the type of thing where you get this type of knowledge. Frogs to Princes and Persuasion Engineering. Pace, then lead. Right?
Okay.
So pacing somebody means keeping pace with them. So listen, lead.
Yeah.
Right? Is the kind of the formula. Is that about accurate theory?
Yeah, I like it. That's even a distinction that I have, that maybe to realize pace even more than maybe we even thought, because it's how pace before you lead. So it's not just pace and lead, it's almost pace, then lead. So that's even a little bit, I'm gonna reflect on that and try to apply it. And
oh, great, you didn't even know that. Well, look, if you hadn't brought it up, if you weren't aware of that whole issue in the first place, then we wouldn't even have been able to talk about it. And basically what Theory is talking about is, in conversion, if someone doesn't feel like you are an us, like on their side when it comes to that subject topic and fresh and up to date with it, then it creates a total interrupt, and they're not going to proceed outside of total desperation. Like unless they're just totally have a gun to their head, there's no other solution. If you're a them, then that person's going to be very suspicious of you. And the problem is, this happens with parents a lot, is you can be an us on one topic and a them on another topic, and that creates, all of a sudden it's like, I can't believe my daughter didn't tell me this, I can't believe my son did not. Well, on that subject, you're a them, right? Oh, I thought I knew everything about whatever, what music they like. I'm just picking something kind of mild, right? Well, no, it turns out for some reason, you know, they wound up feeling like you're a them. Whereas for other parents, might be an us with their kids when it comes to music. Okay, they might go to the same concert, whatever, right? But that parent that is going to the Sabrina Carpenter concert with their kid and they're singing all the songs together, there are them, okay? And then there's another parent who they don't know what their kids are listening to, and their kids think that, you know, they're not. And that's all I'm saying about that. But, you know, if that Sabrina Carpenter mom says, oh, that shirt is so cute, then that little girl is probably going to say, she's going to be much more receptive to it, right? Even if she doesn't think it's necessarily that cute, it's going to carry more weight with it because she knows her mom at least knows about that stuff, right? Whereas if a mom who knows nothing about this stuff is like, oh, here, I bought you, you know, here's this shirt, I know this is your favorite, and the kid's like, that's not my favorite, right? You know, like, even if it is their favorite, they feel like, no, you don't even know, right? So there's a resistance. So that's kind of what Theory's talking about. That was like a helpful interlude. I'm gonna get back to this tournament report, but this is really, really some of the best law of implication training I believe that we've had outside of course David's stuff, which is of course wild.
No.
And wild.
Also, I apologize. I do have to go probably like 10 minutes or so. I'm over here at work on the on the pod with you guys.
Yeah, you're killing it for us. Well, okay, so let's get to the next round, and we won't interrupt until we're done with your part.
The next round, I played a Boros matchup, but he was playing like a stock low to the ground version. Not even close. He was playing like Fanatical Firebrand. He was playing the 2/1 Lizard that deals 2 damage when it comes into play. And he was good too. He ended up making top 4 and he lost in the semifinals. So the 2 number 1 seeds going into top 4 were him and I, and we were both on
He had very
Boros.
different decks, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, he ran the slick shot combo just like I was, but he was running Fanatical Firebrand and he was running the Lizard. Instead of
like those were worse choices, you felt like.
Way worse. In top 4 he ran out of gas. That's all I gotta say. Like those smaller creatures that aren't as impactful, like the Grease Wrench Goblin for me.
This guy here, the Biashino Pyromancer.
Yeah. For me to be able to play like a Grease Wrench Goblin, you know, it's a good 1-drop
out of a 2-drop.
Great 1-drop, yeah. And then, you know, it's also a 2/1 just like the Pyromancer, but I think the ability to ditch cards that you don't need and draw into cards that are impactful is just a lot more, you know, effective in a situation like that than just that little two points of damage.
Yeah, one card I thought might be good for you, but I don't think you'd have the removal to support it, is probably the Stormkirk Noble. But Stormkirk Noble, but I don't think you have the removal really to complement it. So I think that the Grease Wrench probably is the best choice. Okay, great. So you beat the red-white on red-white deck. Did he kind of run out of momentum against you, or did you kind of just get a little?
He ran out of momentum. And he didn't have Authority of Councils in the sideboard either, and it just crushed him.
Okay, so that was a card that you knew about that he didn't realize, and you came in. Yeah. What did he bring in against you? Did you notice?
He brought in Sheltereds against me. We talked about it at the end of the game. He brought in like Sheltereds and Get Lost against me, and he just like didn't see very many of them. I just 2-0'd him pretty quickly. And then the last round I played against a buddy of mine, and we just drew into the top 4. He ended up matching up against the Boros guy, and I ended up matching up against Mono Red. We both ended up winning, and then he ended up actually giving me the invite because he already had one, and we're going to travel up there together. So it worked out well.
And a great teammate.
Yeah, really good guy. Yeah, really nice guy. Good player. I've known the guy since he was running a teamer deck with like FOMO and, you know, the dragon that draws cards and the plant that puts counters on things. I mean, he was playing a really cool build. I'll try to get his list and send it over to you guys in the chat.
Let's have him come on the next podcast if he wants to jump in. Did you make any changes to your mana base?
No, I did not. Kept it exactly the same. Yep.
Great.
Yeah, it's working well. So.
Yeah. Well, obviously, you're on fire.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Great job. Congratulations again, Michael.
Thanks for having me on the show, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to have Michael in the group. He's a terrific addition to our to our group there. Okay, I have
Thank you,
two
guys.
new decks
Good
to
evening.
introduce to everybody. Let me save and exit. So we keep his best version there. And with the last few minutes of the show, okay, I've got two new decks to introduce to you guys that are new since yesterday. And now I had these decks, I had a few days where it was hard for me to test, as I mentioned to the guys, where if I don't keep my account at least at like 95% or something like that, then you just start playing against really fruity decks, which is, there's nothing wrong against it, but this is kind of a waste of time. And then I have to build it all the way back up to 95% just to test anything. And so I get into like a little bit of a loop late in the season if I'm not like already killing it. And so for like the last few days of the season, I was like at like 500 last week after the episode, podcast episode for a little while with something or other. I think Bunny Bazooka or something like that. And then I tested a bunch of other decks that would be possibly good. You'll see some of them down here. Cats, whatever. I was testing all kinds of crazy stuff. Cats is not good. But I don't think it's good, but every time I try it, I lose. But I came up with a couple really, really promising decks that I think you guys are going to like. What I think of as promising is the switchover just came over last night. So everyone's back in platinum. So if a deck isn't like 5-0, if I didn't win 5 straight with it, then I'm not reporting it. So I have 2 decks to report to you. So I think five wins in a row is a pretty high bar. This one is really cool. This is dangerous. The operative card in this deck that really made me sit up and take notice is Ruzik. He's a 5/4 guy. He does have the Mayhem. I haven't used the Mayhem ability, but I'm sure it can come up at some point. But really excitedly, he just really paves the way for you to slam down some sort of a reanimation on turn 4. He'll give you the 4th mana for it with a treasure token, help you discard the creature, but he also is just going to help you just crush somebody, to beat them down. And in practice, he just hits really hard. 5/4, pretty big butt, 4 toughness. You get after people with fear of missing out. I had the original version I was playing had 4 of these. So the creatures I chose are this Dagovoth, you guys see a lot of. This guy, who I think is pretty cool, lets you kind of kill a creature, and then for the most part, you fly over and kill people to death. And then instead of having just 2 more just completely worthless cards, otherwise I have some cards I could cast and could cast as a 6-drop and can certainly cast as a 4-drop with the impending. So I used to have 4 of these. I'm just trying 2 for now because I really wanted to try. Dan reminded me of the Terminus of Return, whatever it's called in the real Spider-Man set. I wanted to try one of these. So I put a 25th mana source in, and I wanted to try something else. What else did I put in here? One of these. I just wanted one more reanimation. So this is like live or die. And the cool thing I wanted to point out with this deck is it's got a transformational sideboard. And it's what made me want to talk to you guys about it. This is one of the things substitution wise, your mind will tell you a sideboard cannot change the nature of your deck. This is false. This is false. It's not always capable of doing it, but very often you can do a transformational sideboard and really whip on people. So I've got some really dangerous stuff. I got those Cecils we were talking about, hired claws, literally marauding Makos to the sideboard. And then these terrific Sunset Saboteurs. This, I think, is one of the most electrifying. I don't have a lot of them in my decks yet because I haven't found the right deck for him. But boy, will I build decks with this guy. He's terrific. Sunset Saboteur, so hard to deal with. And what you're doing is saying, like, look, you're going to bring in all this stuff against, take out my graveyard. I'm going to take out my graveyard creatures. I'm going to take out my Zombifies. We have 16, right? We have 4, 4, 4, and 4. Take out those 16. Leaving maybe one of these guys. Leave in your live and die, even that's pretty bad, but leave it in, or leave in one Zombify, whatever. Because you still have these guys that you can reanimate and some of your other guys. Maybe leave in one, whatever. Leave in one of whatever you want. But those are the cards I'm thinking of. And then otherwise, you do a transformational sideboard and just run at people. And then game 3, then they don't know. Maybe you're going to go back and play your reanimator. Maybe you're going to run at them. Maybe you're going to go halfway in between. Who knows? But you got that shot. So that's something I tested just a little bit with. Mainly tested the main deck is really, really good. And I gave you the sideboard here. Smitty, any thoughts about this?
Not particularly.
Doesn't this guy look nice?
What does the conduit pylon do or whatever?
Oh, it's like a Belloir stone type of thing.
Or okay.
Yeah, it gives us 1 mana. It's let me pull it up. It's a terminus of return. It's indestructible. It taps for black mana.
Not that guy. The conduit pylons. What is that card?
Oh, these are great. These are great. They let you just toss stuff into the graveyard.
Okay.
They give you surveil. They come in untapped, and then they surveil, and you can tap for 1 mana of any color, which actually comes up.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I noticed the Ruzik just like you said. I was like,
Doesn't he really stand out? I mean, he just gets out. If you're gonna do something before and after him, he really gets out of control. Is my point.
I think Gary was talking about that guy too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add there.
Great. Gary's on as well. I know he's tried to get on the show in time. Gary, do we have your mic? Did you want to say anything about the reanimator concept? Oh, Gary had to drop off, looks like.
Oh, I do have one more thought.
Yeah.
I would probably swap out one of the big guys, 1 or 2 for the Ender.
For what?
I can't remember the name of the card. It's something like the Ender. It's an 8 or 9 drop. But they're reanimating a lot with that Spider-Man card.
I wonder what it is.
Search for like 8 casting cost black creatures. I'm sure.
Oh, he's black. Sure.
Yeah, Ender of the Light, I think. How you guys doing today?
Doing
Sorry,
good.
I'm waiting.
Oh man, great to have you on.
It's another card that is going to come up because of we're in a 3-year cycle instead of a 2-year cycle, so it would have rotated like Cauldron, but it seems like we have another combo to welcome to standard. Welcome to new standard.
So what is this called? Is it
I'm
this?
going up.
Gift. I'm sorry.
Bring the last gift. Let me read this. I know you guys are talking about this in the group, but I didn't particularly get to focus on it. So let me see what it says. When this creature enters, if you cast it, each player sacrifices all the creatures they control, then return all the creature cards to greater. So what? That's if you cast it.
So how it works is because of how the wording is on Superior Spider-Man, you are technically casting it. So when it makes a copy,
Spider-Man.
So when it makes a copy of it, so it makes a copy of it as on cast. So it does activate. Right. So again, like I said, welcome to new standard. You know, another deck where now Cauldron is now possibly needed. I watched a game where a mono black player was facing this deck and he had 2 strategic betrayals and the soul tie list still went off. The crazy thing is the mono black player tried to shoot the Sheriff, the Supreme Spider-Man on the stack and it went into the graveyard, but Bringer of the Last Gifts effect was still on the stack. So it actually re-brought back Superior Spider-Man and then it went off again as it ETB'd. So
okay,
insane.
So it's be kind of all over the place pretty soon.
Yes. I've faced the deck probably about 3 times in Platinum since we've been restarting since yesterday. And then I've watched some games because I'm like trying to develop. Do I want to run Boros for Baltimore or do I want to try and figure out something in the next 24 days?
Yeah, I hope they catch it and are responsive with the ban list. Like, again, this is why it'd be better to have somebody more skillful involved with organized play than WotC. Okay, great. So that's going to be a combo that's going to happen. And then what it's going to be, let's taking a look at this so we can react to this new foolery. I looked over the card and I wasn't that impressed with it, but now I see what you're saying. Okay, so Bringer of the Last Gift. When this creature enters, if you cast it, each player sacrifices all other creatures they control. Then each player returns all creatures from the graveyard that weren't put there this way to the battlefield.
It's living end or how living end was out of the
Living Death, yeah, back in the day. Weird.
So maybe not a good suggestion for this particular reanimate, but maybe.
Yeah, but it's good and it's something we'll have to pursue. And again, we have a really diverse group at this point, a really robust group. This is why we're turning out so many hot decks and so many good decks and so many good results. But that's part of what goes on with it. Theory looks like Theory might have gotten kicked out and needed to get re-promoted. Re-promote Theory. Okay, all right, and now to another deck that I particularly made. I had the thought I want to show you kind of a quote unquote bad version or a version that just didn't make it. To give you a sense, I don't just wake up and just amazing decks just fall out of my brain or something like that. There's definitely a process, and sometimes I don't, come up with the first, best idea right away. Where was this one that I had? I want to kind of show you a little bit worse version of this. I don't know which one it is. It might be this one. Okay, well, rather than flop around, this is what it wound up being. This is good. This is exciting. Like you generally wouldn't want to play against this in any sort of a balanced environment. So one of the things that I want to teach you about is checkboxing. And it's one of the things I learned from David. Now, sometimes you're playing a deck where some of those check boxes get kind of checked in a different way, but checkboxing is like for example, in this deck, with any sort of like mid-range aggro deck, and like I like to have 8 removal. That's just a number. It can be higher, but it's often hard to get to more than 8 removal. Maybe Michael and Gary's Boros deck may have a little bit more than 8, but I think they actually do have 8. They have the 4 lightning blasts and then the 4 helixes that we talked about a lot. They get a little bit more out of the dragon, but I wouldn't exactly consider the dragon to be removal. They can certainly block with the Skrillex, but I'm more talking about stuff where you're predictably taking out, a substantial creature. The previous deck did hit that number with kind of just barely with the discard guys. But anyways, this deck has 4 momentum breakers and 4 shelter by ghost. So that's one box that I'm looking to check with this type of an aggro deck. I'd like to have 8 removal, and I'd like that removal to kind of synergize with the rest of the deck. Of course, like I said, it definitely gets scary sheltered by ghosts. When you're playing against black, it's a disaster. It's often not the best card, although, like Dan likes to point out, if you can cover Shelter by Ghost, it gains a lot of value. So it's a really good pairing with Shard Mage's Rescue. If you can happen to protect the creature with it, then that's much better. But anyways, it's not so bad in this deck no matter what, though, because we have a lot of cards that synergize off enchantments. We have the Optimistic Scavengers and these Gremlin Tamers. This is a card you're going to win a lot of games off of this card because of people making incorrect substitutions. They're going to see this guy and think it's not that bad and think that they can deal with 1 or 2 more extra creatures, and they're wrong. They can't. And it gets out of hand. I had just yesterday, I had Optimistic Scavenger in play and a Gremlin Tamer in play, and my opponent killed the Scavenger, and I knew that they died that moment. I was just like, you're dead. And they did. They died to the Tamer. So it really gets out of control. It makes a Gremlin every 1/1 Gremlin every time you cast an enchantment any number of times. So yeah, this deck, if we look at the stats, really hits my checkbox as well. The very, very bare minimum that you can ever play in a creature deck would be like something like theoretically like 16, and then you'd be really, you'd have to have good explanations as to why. You really want to be more, 24 is kind of a safe number. Like it's a pretty safe number where you shouldn't run out of creatures. This deck hits that number pretty well. Hits 16 creatures, plus we've got 4 glimmers, which puts us up to 20 creatures. And then we've also, got the otters. Otter win. Yeah, that help us get over the edge as well with creatures. So that's 24 creatures. So 16 plus 4 for the most helpful Weaver, which I think is a really neat card, great card. Sometimes when they name something, like pay attention to, like WotC, they're human beings. You know, if they say it's the most helpful card, they know that people are not going to realize it's helpful when it's really helpful. So that's part of how I figured that card out. Storm Chaser's Talent, you know, again, we'll make creatures as well. So we have 24 creatures, plus we have these Shard Mage's Rescues. They're going to help protect our creatures. So it's almost more like we have 26 creatures or so in the deck. So that's really nice. Get a lot of extra cards off of Enduring Innocence. It's a Mondo. This is a Mondo combo, folks. If you have Enduring Innocence, if you have a Gremlin Tamer in play, and you if you have an Enduring Innocence in play and you cast a wait, what am I saying here? If you cast you have a Gremlin Tamer in play and you cast Enduring Innocence, the Enduring Innocence is an enchantment. It triggers the Tamer, which then creates a Gremlin. The Gremlin now triggers the Enduring Innocence draw ability. So you draw a card. So it's a real Mondo combo, right? You get the Enduring Innocence. I personally thought the Enduring Innocence would be the most powerful of these creatures at the beginning of things. It's turned out more to be the Enduring Curiosity, but I think we're going to see more and more Enduring Innocence by the end of things. I wouldn't be surprised if Enduring Innocence kind of overtakes, because it just costs 1 less and it's very similar. Like you're getting a very, very similar type effect. So anyways, mainly what's going on though with this deck is that we're crossing 2 beloved decks. One of Smitty's favorite, that he likes to call Miley for Wrecking Ball. So I actually have an old version of that right here to show you. And this is more of a, I return stuff to that. This is the deck that went out of vogue when Hopeless Nightmare got banned. But it was one of Smitty's favorite, where you could really pound people out with Nurturing Pixie and Hopeless Nightmare, and then the combo with the Scavenger and so forth. And then Bryn, Smitty also liked Ivy, but what we call Lily.
You know, what's funny is people are like starting to play that deck again, but they're just like, instead of Hopeless Nightmare, they're just playing Tiny Bones Team Up. So turn 1, Tiny Bones Team Up. Turn 2, Nurturing Pixie. Tiny Bones Team Up. Turn 3, Kieran, Bounce Back, Tiny Bones Team Up again.
Yeah, you can do it. Just I know about that. It's just
I had to face it right before the end of the season, and it was like a mole to 6. And then he's on the play, and it's like half my hands ripped away, and I'm like, "Yep, game 1 is gone. Game 1 is gone."
Without that damage from the Hopeless Nightmare, you still got a chance. You know, you still got a chance.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why you just can't just give up. You got to like kind of play it out, because it's like at anywhere you could kind of change it. You know, he might draw 3 lands in a row after that and run out of gas.
Yeah, and that was the reason I didn't particularly hone in. Of course, like I'm aware of that card. For different reasons, I didn't go with it. But yeah, totally. So now this is a different deck that kind of revolves around Ethereal Armor, and we had Ivy, Gleeful, Spelthy. Bryn, you're in the top 100s with this deck. Very aggressive deck. You know, also had the Storm Chaser's Talent. Also had the Scavenger. But again, what kind of makes this deck different than the Miley deck is you're going with this Ethereal Armor and going for like these big wins. Why did you like this deck so much besides all the winning?
I think I got into like top 100s, basically like 120-ish. I like the IV Dispel Thief. It's such a so one scenario would be, and Smitty mentioned this for sure also in the group chat, where they would try to take out Ivy by putting a shelter on one of their creatures, and then Ivy would just copy it, and you would take the creature that.
Oh, that was one of the reasons I selected this for today's episode, because we're talking about substitution.
Auto win. They just auto scooped after they realized what happened.
and Smitty,
I never had anybody.
Smitty, you would tell people to predict like that this will happen. This will happen to you again and again, that you will have Ivy, and out of nowhere, someone will cast Shelter by Ghost. The Shelter by Ghost will then land on your Ivy first. You'll kill their creature, and you win.
Yeah, they scoop every time. Never had one person continue after that happened.
Right, and like it usually happens. They like raise their hand to call a judge over. But what happens is, and yeah, but again, this is one of these substitutions. And one that just has to be learned. And if you don't learn it, you don't know it, and it's not at your disposal. And you just lose to it. Bryn, this deck very aggressive, very unforgiving. Is that right?
Yeah.
The Otter was way better. The elusive Otter was way better than it looks. It's like they can never block it.
Oh, right. That was another substitution, right? People constantly would underestimate and even kill another creature instead of realizing that Otter was going to kill them. Is that right, Smitty?
Yeah, they would kill your scavenger, who's obviously a pretty big part of the plan, but then you just beat him with Otter. I'm sorry if I'm hijacking the.
No, this is exactly why I want you on. I mean, it's never the same if I don't have Smitty on the podcast, by far. Okay, great. So this is a deck where I wanted to bring together the best elements of these two decks, and yet not lose the nutritional value. I think I really did it. I'm very proud of the mana. So the mana, when you have double white, one of the check boxes you want to hit is you want 18 sources of white. This deck has 18 sources of white. This is a 20 land deck. Pops right into my mind. We only have top of our mana curve is 3. Balance between the 1 and the 2 drops after that. That screams 18 to 20 land deck. 18 being very thin, 20 being a little fat, but that's the number. So this could be 19, but 20 is a good number, especially since we have the Enduring Innocence. So we've got 18 white from 4, 8, 9, 10, 10, and 8 right here between our Multiversal Passage, right? Our new favorite card. And our Starting Towns, our other new favorite card, that gives us 18 sources of white. So we have tons of white. Now we have 8 sources of blue. When we have 8 spells that are blue, when we have 8, the magic number is 14. 14 is the number. That's just the number. We've tested it with Kyle Rose years ago, and we just know this number. It's adequate. Of course, if you have more, that's great. If you have less, you're redlining. You can do it. You're going to lose some games, but you can. Smitty was playing 8 with 12 for a long time in Ivy, and or 6. You were playing 6 in Ivy with 12 because Smitty really liked, or sometimes even 7 or 8 because he really liked the 4 casting cost or 3 casting cost. Calexis. He really liked Calexis, which is good. So you can do it. It's dangerous, but you can do it. So this deck has got 4, 8, 9, 10 from the Watery Grave, and then you almost always, your Verge is almost always going to produce white. If you're really paranoid, you could put Godless Shrines instead of the Consecrated Courtyard if you knew you weren't going to play against red or something. But anyways, at that point, you might not want to have 4 Shelter by Ghosts in the main deck. Maybe just 2 at that point. Okay, so 18 white, 14 blue, and then 12 black is the number that I want to have for a splash of 4. And that's the number that we have: 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm very proud of this mana structure. It's very sweet. Nothing comes into play tapped. You're going to reliably be able to cast your spells, and what spells they are. We've got 28 enchantments. One of the things that you're going to run into with this deck is sideboarding is going to be tricky to figure out, but I've got some sideboard ideas up for you. Sometimes, for example, your Shelter by Ghost, they're either going to be your best or your worst card. That's just the way it is. So if it's your worst card, oftentimes we're going to want the Spectacular Spider-Man or a Demi. That's going to be a very important card. We might want negates, right? Like maybe if we took out Momentum Breaker and Shelter by Ghosts, then at that point, maybe I want negates and ademies, for example. We really prefer to sideboard in enchantments in this deck. Otherwise, we don't have enough fuel for our Optimistic Scavengers and our Gremlin Tamers to really take us where we want to go. But this is a kick-ass deck. You guys are going to love it. You're going to get a lot of wins off of a Most Helpful Weaver. That third tick where you give something double strike and then you drop an Ethereal Armor. Now you don't have the Most Helpful Weaver anymore to power up the Ethereal Armor. At that point, it drops off, so that's a bummer. But your double strike at that point, a lot of times, you can get an Otter Big or something like that, or whatever. Just have something get across and do a bunch of damage. Double strike and kill them off. So this is a really neat deck. I know you guys are going to have a lot of fun with it. It's just an obvious blue chip deck, and I don't think anyone's going to find it. It's just really hard to figure out this mana. It's hard to figure out that they're really, like Gary was saying, we could be playing, we could really kind of mangle the mana with this to fit. Or we could play, the other thing we could do is play the Tiny Bones thing to make people discard and then try to get our removal some other way. But if we do that, we're going to either not have enough creatures, or we're going to start kind of cracking the seam some different way. Also, you particularly want to have that Tiny Bones on the first turn or the second turn, I suppose. But Momentum Breaker, it's removal. It's more of the type of thing that can be used, on the second turn or later in the game. So you have a little bit more time to draw the proper mana for it. Okay, so that gives you a rundown of this. Smitty, you're a master of both Miley and Lily. So let me throw this out to you. What are your first thoughts when you see this deck?
I might think, I like it. I might think about putting a couple Elspeth on the sideboard. It might be too expensive, but it might work too.
Well, remember, one way that you can make a transformational sideboard is put a couple lands. So for example, Smitty's version of this might have 2 of the Restless Anchorages and 2 Elspeths, and then maybe something to go along with that.
Yeah, I could just see it being pretty dope. It gives you a little more removal. It can power up your guys, and it's resistant.
And for the most part, Elspeth is one of the few cards that cost 5 that you can cast, and usually you win. I mean, you just kind of usually win based on if you're alive and
it brings kind of the whole package, and I think it would pair well with the Tamer. But I don't know for sure. The Ademi of the Silk Shoots is pretty cool too. I remember having seen that card, but not really taking a note on it. So I can.
Oh, the Most Helpful Weaver.
Oh, Ademi.
Oh, Ademi. Ademi is super good. Yeah, we're gonna have Ademi in deck after deck after deck after deck, or in main deck or sideboard of deck after deck after deck. And I think it's Spectacular Spider-Man.
Also maybe.
Spectacular Spider-Man.
What is it?
Spectacular Spider-Man. Yeah, that's actually going to be the promo for Baltimore. It looks insane.
Awesome. I hope you come back with a win. Okay, everybody.
I just wanted to add one last thing. What Smitty was saying with the Elspeth, as well as you, Mike, really good. I think just her standalone trigger of making double tokens might be really good with the Gremlins. You'll get double. Yeah.
Neat.
So that's something to think about too.
You may find that this is a better mid-range deck. I'm totally cool with that.
No, it's like something that we can look at, moving forward too. You never know. Like you said, we took the Boros deck and transformed it. Look at what might happen the next 2-3 weeks on this deck. That's what's so great about having the guys all together here, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Great, it's a great mastermind, and we appreciate you, Gary. You're always going out there and spreading the word, and we appreciate that very much. And just great science in the group. Great day today. Jeremy's been off and on since the beginning. I doubt he has anything that he necessarily wants to say. He's still kind of a bit of a beginner, but I could always ask him. Is there anybody else that want to say anything before I cut things out and we'll meet next week? Good to go. Great week, guys. Congratulations. Appreciate Michael again for coming on. Great week. And I will, that David Mills video that we got to do. Lawrence, did substitution start becoming a little bit more emergent for you as we went through this?
Yeah. It seems to be that it's possible that substitutions are always. I had a question, right? Once you start to see the error, and Thierry had an example.
The error is not knowing that it's going on.
Yeah, right.
Substitutions are either useful or useless or great or good. They're a 1 through 10 or whatever, right?
Mhm.
But the problem is we don't know what's happening at all.
Yeah.
It's not just whether or not it's the right one or not, right? There are plenty of things that we look at intuitively. We know exactly what it is, and we're right. It is,
Mhm.
right? But it's the quirks where life happens. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, if the error is to not basically to be unaware that substitutions are happening, then yeah, I've got that.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And it's the weirdest thing, but like,
Mhm.
and it's not just that it's happening, but that not realizing it's happening is totally a massive impediment. Does that help? I think that probably broke you through more than anything I could have said.
Yeah, there's an additional point where it's like it seems to continue to happen even though you're aware that it's happening. So like
It absolutely does. You're not trying to
yeah.
make it stop. It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with that. It's like I said, the worms. You're not trying to make the worms in Dune stop. You're just trying to make them stop eating you.
Sure. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Instead, you want to ride them,
Gotcha.
right? You don't want the waves to stop. You can't make the waves to stop. You want to surf them. You want to
Sweet.
harness them.
Okay. That helps. Yeah, that helps a great bit.
Because what's happening is people, they just have these mythologies about what waves are, and then they get whacked by them. And sometimes they're right. They're like, look at me, I'm awesome. I'm running so fast. You know, I'm jumping in the sky higher than I ever could have. And it's true, they are, right? They're in a wave and they're jumping up at the right time and it's great, right? Another time they're getting smashed by it and they're practically getting dragged off in the ocean and drowned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but they have no sense of that's going on. And in our default interface, in life, we don't know that, right? And that's kind of the thing that we can do. And it, like, as you saw in David's video, it leads, like it's where it leads.
Yeah.
And that's why when you go back to that video, look to where it leads, look to what kind of a society it leads to, what kind of a city on a hill it leads to. Being able to work on problems this way and address things this way. And our enemy is not bad people. There are no bad people that I know of. I don't know how that it's ideas. And that's not a tricky way of saying wink, wink. And the ones with the bad ideas are those guys over there. Let's get their ass. I'm not saying that. I'm saying worldwide, we all have this problem where we have like even for David and to a limited extent for me, like all inputs that we get are from people who only are getting hit by these waves and don't know what they are, right? And yet they're necessary to be harnessed and they can be triumphant. I've been really enjoying watching the Philadelphia Eagles play football recently, really enjoying it. Very organized team, but very passionate. Fascinating to me how the coach is really harnessing, Nick Sirianni is really harnessing. You know, he doesn't want his players to turn into pussies, but he doesn't want them to get thrown out of games, which literally has happened this season, right? So I'm not making that up, right? It's a real problem he has to deal with, and it's fascinating watching him contend with it because he both wants his players to be thoughtful and brilliant and well-versed, and then he wants them to be dogs and animals on the football field, right? And he really does want that and should want that, right? To get the result that he is trying to get, you know, if we presume that what you want is to win football games in the Super Bowl. I could help him a lot if I could talk to him about this stuff, by the way. But anyways, but you guys are the first with, like David saying, this is a steering wheel and it's important. And most people, it's true, they're not even thinking about where the wheels are going, but it's coming. Like, look, everyone wants this. Like what we have, like there's such division right now in the world. In some ways, not more than ever before, but in some ways it's very high. And there's a lot of alienation, a lot of loneliness, just a lot of sadness. And it doesn't need to be this way. And we can make a massive difference. It can happen very, very fast. And that's what's happening, like, in my opinion. We'll see, you know, but that's the plan. That's the plan. Okay, killer stuff. Thanks to Jesus, thanks to all of y'all. A tremendous, and I just felt like this is staggeringly more valuable than the previous ones. And I loved the previous ones, but I think once you start seeing us organizing, because then we can organize by something. Not like, what are we doing? Well, we're looking at these substitutions and seeing what's going on with that. Oh, why? Well, we want to be accurate. Okay. Well, I can do that, right? Like, it's not like you hear about, like, I don't know, Scientology. I don't know much about Scientology, but my understanding is when people try to explain it, they're just kind of sound like, well, you can do this, you can do that, it can be powerful, you know, but you just can't be you don't really know much to say about it. This is something you can say. It's something that somebody just on the street, you can learn to explain it, and they can understand it in the right scenario. I'm not saying, again, like Theory was saying, you got to pace and lead. Can't just walk up and say, hey, motherfucker, substitutions. Right, but you can get there. All right, great show. Thanks again to Smitty, guys. Smitty does so much to make this possible. I know it's strange because you guys all regard him as an expert, but his impact on this is so outsized. Really, with the direction that David and I are taking things with the game store, with stuff like that, we wouldn't proceed without having the bottleneck that Smitty addresses. Without Smitty involved, we would not be doing what we're doing the way we're doing. Like, we would have to stop and find a Smitty to do it. And so he really has an outsized impact on things, and we really appreciate him every time. Thanks, Smitty. Really appreciate you. I think everybody here does especially appreciate you, Smitty. But I thought I would bring that up. Okay, and of course Smitty will be hearing that more and more, so it's better for him to start getting used to it now. Okay, guys, God bless. Great job. Thanks again to Michael, Theory. Thanks for jumping on, Bryn, Lawrence, everyone else who was on the show. Peter's still hanging on with us. So Peter, glad you're here. Peter said, hey, Mike, earlier, so great. Glad to have you on here. This was the best one yet. Great job, everybody. God bless.